Okay, in this lecture, we're going to be going over the mean and variance of discrete distributions. Um, so it's really important that y'all know that calculating the mean and the variance and the standard deviations of probability distributions is a lot different than what we've done previously. So don't take it for granted that you know how to do it from the previous lesson. They are calculated differently. Okay. So the mean is typically the value that's used to represent the central location of the data. We are still talking about the actual values. We're not talking about the percentages or the probabilities. We're talking about the mean of the values. Okay. So the mean is also referred to as the expected value, what you actually expect to what you actually expect the outcome to be. So the mean of a probability distribution, which we looked at probability distributions in the previous lecture, is the sum of the probability of x multiplied by x. Okay, so you've got a probability and then you have the actual value of x. You multiply those together and you add all of those products together, and that gives you the mean or the expected value. Okay, and then the variance of the probability distribution is x minus the mean squared multiplied by the probability of x, and that gives you a specific value for each occurrence, and then you add all of those up together. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so say for instance you have you're a car salesman and you want to know on a given day what's the probability that you're going to sell 0 cars, 1 car, 2 cars, 3 cars, or 4 cars. Okay, and the probability that you'll sell 0 cars is 0.1. 1 car is 0.2, 2 cars is 0.3, 3 cars is 0.3, and 4 cars is 0.4. And notice if you add all of these together, it's going to equal 1. Okay, if it doesn't equal 1, this is not going to work. Okay, so after you do this, after you determine the probabilities for each occurrence, you multiply the number, or x, this is x, you multiply x by probability of x. Okay, so, and that gives you right here, which is essentially each occurrence's contribution to the mean. So if you add all of these up together, it gives you the mean. Okay, and once again, the mean is the expected value. So the expected value is 2.1, or that you expect to sell 2.1 cars. Obviously, you're not going to sell 2.1 cars. You're either going to sell 2 or you're going to sell 3. But on a given day, the expected value is 2.1 cars. Okay, so after this, what you need to do is equals x minus the mean. Okay, and we're just going to drag this down. Oops. X minus the mean. Okay, so x minus the mean. So x minus 2.1, or 0 minus 2.1 is negative 2.1. 1 minus 2.1 is negative 1.1, and so on. So that's x minus the mean, and then in order to be able to add these together and do anything with them, you need to square this column right here. So equals that squared. So that gives you 4.41, and drag it down. And then after you square it, in order to get the variance, you have to once again multiply this column right here by the probability. So equals this multiplied by the probability of occurrence, and you drag it down again. Okay, and then if you sum this together, that will give you the variance of, or the spread outness of the distribution. And then if you take the square root, of the variance, then this is the standard deviation. Okay. Okay, so that's the variance, the standard deviation, and this right here is the mean. Okay, and that is of a discrete probability distribution. Okay, in the PowerPoint, it goes through the exact same thing. There's examples in the books that do this as well. Just practice this a few times over and over again. When we get into the binomial distribution, there's going to be a slightly easier way to do this. But just know the mean is really important. It's the expected value. And then also, in order to calculate the variance, you're no longer dividing it like you did previously. You are multiplying x minus the mean squared by the probability of occurrence, and then you're summing those together. So try this out a few times, get some experience with it, and yeah.